where art meets industry. In these courses, students learn design principles, color theory, and floral techniques from simple bud bases to elaborate arrangements, while also gaining real-world business skills through campus and community events, deliveries, and a staff flower subscription service. Their skills speak for themselves. Last year, more than 200 students earned Texas State Florist Association certification, proving their talent and career readiness. This evening, our students are going to walk us through the creation of a floral arrangement, explaining their design choices and techniques. Please join me in applauding the Lake Belton High School floral design students and their teachers for sharing their creativity with us tonight.
Can I turn this? Does this thing turn, or do I have to? Just a little bit. That's great. Get my notes out. Hello, everyone. This is really fancy. My name is Allison Hall, and my teaching partner, Lori. We both teach floral design at Lake Belton High School. We have the Canales sisters here with us, Victoria and Ava, here to demonstrate to you guys what we do in our program tonight. So we would have a few more students with us, but there's a lot going on this time of year, as you all know. We got some sports that a lot of our kids are involved in. We're in the middle of our contest season, and then there's a little bit of sickness going around. So these girls have stepped in to do a great job for us. At our school, we have 3 different classes of floral design. So we have the Intro to Floral Design, which is your beginner level, which is anywhere, it's typically going to be anywhere from sophomores, juniors mostly, and then some seniors. It is a part of our FFA program, which is the extracurricular part of our program. So any ag class is also considered FFA, and floral design is in that. But we also have a lot of kids that take it for their art credit. So we get tons of different types of kids, and we enjoy all of them. So what they're doing today is they're demonstrating from a complete arrangement or an unfinished arrangement all the way to a completed arrangement. In your basic level floral design class, we do a lot of kind of what we're doing today. This is a round arrangement. We actually did a floral design today in class, more of a forward-facing arrangement. We did it in cans that the students were able to decorate themselves that were Halloween themed, and we did an arrangement that was very, very similar to what we're demonstrating today. So we do have the intro class, and they basically do 1 flower arrangement a month until the end of the school year, and they also create a portfolio of all the arrangements that they do as well. And each month we try to theme it to whatever the holiday of the month is. So this month would be Halloween, next month will be Thanksgiving, and so on and so forth. And then we have, so that's the beginner level class, and they learned a lot of the basics of floral design. In the advanced floral design, which is the second level, they do the same things that all of the beginner classes do, but they also start to integrate into our, what's it called? Flower of the Month, yeah. Flower of the Month, which is our subscription program that we offer to schools all over town. So they will make all of the flower arrangements that we do for the beginner class, but they will also take a step up and do the Flower of the Month Club and design those as well. We also do a lot of events, so we've done a lot of banquets. We did the beef banquet this past weekend. We did, what did we just do? We've done 2 weddings so far this year. Family Promise, we did that event recently. We have another wedding this weekend that we're doing, and so those classes do that as well. And then the practicum class, they do all of these events, plus they deliver the Flower of the Month subscriptions all over town. So they get to go out and actually take the arrangements, kind of like if they were to work for a floral shop. They take in a bunch of orders. They pick out kind of what flowers we're going to use and design the arrangements before we actually get the hands-on part going. So that's kind of a little bit about the class. Through these classes, they're also able to earn some certifications, like they mentioned before we came up here. So we do just the basic level knowledge exam. This allows us to be able to certify all of our students that are in the floral design class. They also have a couple other levels of certifications that Ms. Hobbs has done before. They do have a hands-on portion that the students are allowed to do, but we typically offer this to students who are really, really interested in going into the field. One of the best parts about this program, like I had mentioned before, is it does relate back to our FFA program. So in the springtime, there is a contest called Floriculture, and students actually memorize every single flower that you could possibly think of, and they go out and they judge these flowers. So they have to know 120 different plants. They have to know pests and diseases. And then they have to do a practicum as well, and they place flowers from best to worst. So that's part of the way that we take what we learn in class and use it outside in our FFA program. We also use it in other ways. I have students that talk about floral design in a public speech. We have students that talk about it kind of like in a radio broadcast. So this isn't something that just happens in the classroom. It's something that they take outside of school as well and present to people all over the state. What else can we think of? So, like I said, what they're doing right now is they're creating an arrangement from basic all the way to completed. So we started over here closest to me with some arrangements that just have greenery. And so the basic part of your container, you have your container, and then you have your foam. We use what's called wet foam. If you were to use what's called dry foam, then that is for silk flowers, which are fake flowers. But today we're using fresh flowers, so we have what's called wet foam. So you have your container, then you have your wet foam. The first thing that you saw that was closest to me was our foliage, our greenery, which today they're using eucalyptus, a type of eucalyptus. There are many, many different varieties. Some of you probably smell it in your bath soaps. But it is a very beautiful plant that there's lots of varieties of, so they're using that as their foliage today. After that, we have some spray roses that are going to be your focal points. Your focal points are going to be the biggest and the brightest flowers that you see. So they are using yellow spray roses for that. And then after that, your arrangement's kind of tiered. So you have a focal point, which is the first flower that you look at, and then after that, you kind of have some filler type flowers or secondary flowers. So your secondary flowers that we have in here are purple aster. And then our filler flowers are going to be two different types of chrysanthemums, florist chrysanthemum and button chrysanthemums, and then baby's breath, which a lot of people know what baby's breath is. Homecoming mums. I forgot those were sitting on the table. We just got through with our homecoming week last week. I know BHS's homecoming is this week, so I know that they are probably in the midst of all of this as well. Each of our students in class get to make a miniature homecoming mum, which is what you can see sitting on the table. So Ms. Hobbs and I like to pick out a bunch of different types of supplies, and then the students actually get to kind of have free reign after we go over how to make them, of what they want to put on them. We require basic things like you need a certain amount of ribbons, you need a certain size of ribbons, you need some trinkets, you need a flower, you need some loops around your flower, you need something in the middle of your flower to make it look pretty. We do not sell them. Some schools sell them, but we do not because it has gotten a little outrageous. But the students do get to make their own mini mums, and there are a lot of students who are very proud of them, and they wore them around school all day, so that was really neat to see. There's a silver and white one up there, which typically is for seniors. Like I said, they kind of have free reign to kind of design how they want after we give them kind of the basic standards and how to do it. And so one of the seniors had created her own silver and white one. I think that's it. So we're going to gift these to our school board members today. We really appreciate you guys allowing us to be here and supporting our program. There are currently over 300 students enrolled in Lake Belton High School's floral design program, which is potentially more than 300 potential florists. Yes, 38 students is one of our largest classes. We are very, very full. So thank you for allowing us to be here, and hopefully it benefits you someday.
Board, if you want to grab your arrangements. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can give us a moment to clear the tables, we will continue with recognitions.
Good evening, everyone. Lots of folks here today. Thank you all for being here. And for your interest in Belton ISD, I hope you've enjoyed the demonstrations by the Lake Belton High School floral design students. Let's give them a round of applause, if you will. Thank you, guys. Very nice. The time is 6:28 p.m. and the Belton Independent School District Board of Trustees are now convened in a regular board meeting on Monday, October the 20th, 2025, at the Pittenger Fine Arts Center located at 400 North Wall Street in Belton, Texas. A quorum of board members is present. Please note for the record that Ms. Bass will not be joining us this evening. This meeting has been duly called and notice of the meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551. I want to welcome the members of our audience and our live stream viewers to this meeting. As the Belton ISD Board of Trustees, we are here to set goals, listen to reports from the superintendent, approve budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and make policy for the district. This meeting of the Board of Trustees is held in public, however, is not a public meeting. Prior to this meeting, board members received information related to items on tonight's agenda. Agenda items may not necessarily be handled in the order listed on the notice. This meeting is open to all who wish to attend and hear the matters discussed this evening. These proceedings are being live streamed on the district's YouTube channel and will be available for review in the days following tonight's meeting. For a video to adequately reflect the proceedings, I respectfully ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking and that cell phones are on the silent mode. If you would, please rise for a moment of silent prayer or meditation. Please remain standing as our students from Hubbard Branch Elementary lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and honors to the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Please be seated. The first item on the agenda this evening is recognitions. We'll turn it over to our communications department to start us out.
All right, we are so excited tonight to once again recognize our student pledgers. They are from Hubbard Branch Elementary School. We have Logan Anderson and Sophia Ladoff. Logan's a first grader who loves math and science. His friends describe him as playful and full of energy. And Sophia is a third grader. She likes working with numbers and wants to be confident managing money when she's older. Her friends would describe her as kind and a little bit silly. And you guys did an amazing job tonight. Thank you for being here to start our meeting off right. And next, we would like to recognize again our students from our showcase, our Lake Belton High School floral design students and their teachers. You got to see their creativity in action tonight. What I thought was truly unique that I learned tonight was that last year more than 200 students earned the Texas State Florist Association certification, showcasing their creativity and career-ready skills. And what we saw tonight was nothing short of amazing, and we appreciate all your hard work. Thank y'all for being here tonight. And now we want to recognize our Special Olympics bocce ball participants. On Saturday, September 27th, our team competed in the Area 12 bocce ball competition in Waco. These champions brought home 6 gold, 3 silver, and 2 bronze medals. And we definitely want to recognize their coaches and sponsors, Lauren Marks, Misty Norwood, and Dinah Schreiner. Thank you guys so much for being here, and congratulations. Outstanding job, you guys. Our next set of awards tonight, I want to preface with kind of an overall snapshot. Tonight, we are collectively celebrating 248 AP Scholars, 163 Big Future Merit Awards, and 4 National Merit Scholars. This group by campus is Belton High School. And tonight for Belton High School, we are recognizing 47 AP Scholars, 17 AP Scholars with honor, 35 AP Scholars with distinction. And if you look on your screen, you can see what students have to do in order to qualify for each of those honors. So 3 or more tests at a rate of 3 or higher, 3.2 on all AP exams taken, and scores of 3 or higher for 4 or more for AP Scholars with honors. And our AP Scholars with distinction, those students receive an average score of at least 3.5 on all AP exams and scores of 3 or higher on all 5 or more exams. We are running out of room to photograph you all, but see if you can find a window and look over there. Congratulations. Congratulations, Belton High School AP Honors. And we have a few of you who are also Big Future Merit Award recipients. If you're a Big Future Merit Award recipient, stay put. If not, if you'll exit this way. All right, do we have any over there that are Belton High School? Y'all come on up. We are also recognizing 63 students in total from Belton High School who have been honored through this College Board's Big Future Merit Award for their outstanding academic achievements. These awards celebrate students who have demonstrated exceptional academic success in the classroom and on College Board assessments, connecting them with colleges and scholarship opportunities across the country. So joining us are our 63 Big Future Merit Award recipients. Way to go, Belton High School. Congratulations. And as Belton High School exits, we will start to welcome our AP scholars from Lake Belton High School. We have 74 AP scholars from Belton High School. We also have 25 students who are AP scholars with honor from Lake Belton High School, and 37 students who are AP scholars with distinction from Lake Belton High School. And again, if you'll look at the screen, you can see how students qualify for each of those special AP scholar honors. As the final students are lining up, please give a round of applause for Lake Belton High School's AP scholars. And now we're going to add our Big Future Merit Award recipients. Let's see. Here, we'll just leave them. Let's just bring this group up front. Yeah, perfect. You guys come forward. Yeah. So Lake Belton High School also had 79 students who were honored with College Board's Big Future Merit Awards, again giving them opportunities, connecting them with colleges and scholarships across the country. Congratulations to Lake Belton High School. Outstanding job. And as our Lake Belton students exit, we are going to welcome Belton New Tech and their AP scholars. We have 7 AP scholars from Belton New Tech, 2 students who are AP scholars with honors, and 4 AP scholars with distinction. And we're going to add to this group, we're going to add there were 21 total students from Belton New Tech at Wascow who are Big Future Merit Award recipients. Congratulations, Belton New Tech High School. And as these students exit, we are very proud to recognize this evening 4 outstanding students who are National Merit Scholarship Program Award winners. From Belton High School, we have Anita Malhotra and Catherine Nickerson, who have been recognized as National Merit Commended Scholars, rank among 50,000 students in the country. And we have 2 students from Lake Belton High School, Drew, hey Drew, and Alex, who have been named National Merit Semifinalist. two of 7,500 students in the country so far. And we'll find out later on this year if they continue to become finalists. Congratulations to all four of you. Tremendous, tremendous achievement. Okay, I gotta see Drew. Come on. Yes. Sorry, excuse me, I'm sorry. He was mine when he was a little bitty guy, so yes, I needed to say hi to him and his mama. Next, we have a very special award this evening. For the very first time, we're giving a new award and introducing the Journey of a Graduate Milestone Awards, which is a recognition that's going to honor middle school students who exemplify the district's core competencies aligned to the Journey of the Graduate competencies. We have with us our very first nominee from Lake Belton Middle School, John Hodges, and his teacher, Sydney McAfee, who nominated him. So if you will turn your attention to the screens for a quick video that talk about his accomplishments.
John is an exceptional worker here at our concession stand when we have games going on. The less than glamorous duties, sometimes, there's sweeping involved and some spills that happen. He never complains. He is always willing to help. Even if somebody else makes an accident, he's right there to help them. I think John embodies communication, especially. I think he is just such an exceptional communicator, especially with our customers. Sometimes it's very loud in here and he never gets nervous, never gets upset, never gets anything. He is just ready to talk to them, ready to tell jokes with them, ready to just help them with everything. With the other kids too, he has such a calming presence that they don't get nervous. It can get pretty busy and there can be a lot of customers in line at times, and his calming presence just helps them know that everything's gonna be okay, everybody's gonna get served, everybody's gonna get helped. He is such a little adult. It's so funny. He works so well with grown people that come to the concession stand, and it's so funny to see him switch between having those conversations with his fellow peers and then the adults that come to the concession.
One thing I've learned is how to be organized. Another thing I've learned is how to organize more stuff. Basically just a lot of organization, plus communication, a lot of Asians in there. Well, it has taught me servant leadership, which is great because it can help with all of my real world experiences. It teaches me how to be good on a level, and I can teach this to other people to teach them what to do as well. By doing this, I can gain more experience throughout things like college or just more schooling. And I feel like throughout this entire journey, I've learned really essential skills, and I think it's gonna help a lot in my future. Well, helping out, it's just, sometimes breaks are good, but other times putting a smile on other people's faces is just, again, a good thing. I get people happy, and I just walk home, I guess I get driven home, knowing that I actually did something today. Simple but beautiful.
And John, as simple as it may be, it is absolutely beautiful and extraordinary. Really, there were three competencies that jumped out to me: your communication, adaptability, and empathy, all three. And I don't know exactly what, when our team came up with this award and really began to think about this, I couldn't have imagined a better first recipient than you, John. So thank you so much. You do have an award in your hand, and I do want to mention that that award was designed and created by our student, a student at Belton New Tech, along with his teacher, Heather Stephen. Boris Robinson designed and created that JOG award for you, and you were the first to receive it. And I know, let's see, Ms. Stevens is here, but Boris wasn't able to be here. But again, just an extra special gift from a fellow Belton ISD student. So congratulations, John. Our next award this evening is to recognize our Purple Star campuses. Total, we have 7 campuses that are identified as Purple Star campuses, and we are introducing 3 new campuses that have received the designation for the first time tonight: Chisholm Trail Elementary, High Point Elementary, and Lake Belton Middle School qualified this year, and they are joining existing members: Lakewood Elementary, Southwest Elementary, Belton Middle School, and Belton High School. With nearly 30% of Belton ISD's student population identified as military connected, serving those families who serve us so well is vitally important. And we are committed and dedicated to making that happen and making our campuses places where military-connected families feel valued and are able to thrive. Congratulations to our 3 new campuses, but all 7 of you. We appreciate you going above and beyond. And each of the campuses is receiving a banner like the one you saw tonight to be able to display at their campus. So congratulations. We appreciate you guys so very much. And now we are going to recognize our Temple Rotary Educator of the Month. We are pleased to recognize Ashley Myers, who is an outstanding service member at the Delta 18 Plus program. She is now in her 9th year in education and her 2nd year with Delta. She brings passion and heart to her work every day. Her principal, Tammy Baggerly, says that she fosters independence, creates meaningful learning experiences, and builds strong connections with our families. Ashley truly exemplifies dedication and excellence in serving Belton ISD students and young adults. Thank you for all you do, Ashley. And unfortunately, our Belton Rotary Educator of the Quarter was not able to be here with us this evening, but it is Melissa Johnson, and she is a kindergarten teacher at Southwest, and we are very grateful for her as well, but she just was not able to join us this evening. So we will move on to our department showcase. And our department showcase this evening, in October, we recognize National Principals Month. And this is a time, we'll just clap. This is a time for us to carve out time to very specifically recognize our campus leaders who are the heartbeat of what we do every day. Yeah, go ahead and give them. They're also always the noisiest recognees every year. I don't know why, but yes, they're just the noisiest. Our principals truly set the tone for learning, and they build strong relationships and work tirelessly to support our students and staff and families. This year, we have a gift for you. With Ben and Denise and the communications department, we collaborated to design custom magazine covers for each of you that highlight your unique leadership attributes based on our leadership definition. And they include firsthand experiences from your staff and students about how you live these attributes each and every day. So each of them is different, each of them unique, and each of them designed just for you. As a reminder that you are the only person that can do what you do for us in Belton ISD, and you matter. And we want to just take time to make sure that you are celebrated, that you feel special, and that you know that we appreciate all that you do. So thank you, principals. Happy Principals Month. And our last recognition this evening, but certainly not least, we would like to recognize our community partners. We have Lena Armstrong Public Library and the Friends of Belton Public Library. In honor of Belton Children's Book Week happening November 3rd through 7th, these partners are bringing our Big Red community together through the Big Red Read, a shared reading experience featuring Stuart Little by E.B. White. Thanks to their coordination and generosity, each Belton ISD elementary campus has received 20 copies of the book, giving students the opportunity to fully participate in this community-wide celebration of literacy. This partnership reflects the power of community support in fostering a love of reading and learning across Belton ISD. Thank you. We are so grateful to Lena Armstrong Public Library and the Friends of Belton Public Library for your dedication to our students and our schools. Thank you. Thank you, ladies. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you being here tonight.
All right, if y'all will join me one more time. I have to tell you, as students were coming up, I was like, I saw your game recently. Were you in the play the other night? Like, our students are so involved in so many things, and we are so proud of them. Please join me in congratulating all of our students one more time. They're like, do we get to go home?
Yeah. Again? Mine's good.
This is on, yours isn't.
Can you hear me now? Oh, there we go. I think most of you know that this was Principal Appreciation Month, and we have our principal sitting right here in the middle. I think we'd like to say a few words to you. Chris, you want to start us off?
Sure. Yeah, when I came in, I was a little worried. I was wondering who got in trouble, right? We got all the principals in here. And Dr. Golden said it was me. So, happy Principal Appreciation Month. From me, right, you all are the keystone in the bridge between the board and the implementation in the classroom, right? The keystone is the really important piece of the bridge, right? That if it's not there, the whole thing falls down, right? So that is you. You all are that keystone that really is the bridge. And I think, honestly, you've got the most difficult job in the entire district. You are in a lot of ways the mayor of your attendance zone, or not, in the case of New Tech, right? The whole place. So you're the mayor of that zone, which means you really have to deal with everybody, right? Everybody from the students to the parents to the businesses in the area, to elected officials sometimes. You've got the whole community, right? Is really knocking on your door. You're the educational leaders on the campuses, right? You are the folks who really help make the magic happen and enable the magic to happen for the teachers that we have in the classrooms, right? And are helping to mold that next generation, helping to take that art and that science and put it together to really drive continuous improvement. The hours, the celebrations, the tears maybe sometimes, the frustration sometimes, know that we see you, right? We see you, we love you. You are doing an incredible job. And we just, personally, I can't thank you enough for what you do, what you mean for everybody top to bottom at the district. And so just on behalf of me and really the rest of the board, I think feels the same way. Thank you for what you do. We couldn't do it without you. So.
Trustees, anyone else want to share a few words? Anyone else?
So
Bradley?
new coming onto the board, I think that's the principals and the pivotal role that they play in implementing the vision for the district has probably been one of the areas I've learned the most about. And so from going on to the campuses to seeing the presentations and the meeting, it's really amazing what an impact a great principal has on a school, and we're blessed to have a lot of great principals. So we sincerely appreciate all the work that you do to take care of our kids every day. So thank you very much.
Anyone else? Yeah, Rucker?
A lot of what both of you already said, but all of you out here, every time we come onto your campuses, you are leading with excellence and you demand excellence, and there's high accountability within your staff and faculty. It's very evident. Not that just you're passionate about our students succeeding, but I think every time I come on, you are all beloved. And I think that speaks volumes that you love your children, you love the parents, and you love your community. And that just goes to show how far above and beyond you take this job and how seriously it is. And so you can pay someone to do a job, but you can't pay someone to love someone that well. And so I thank you for that.
Anyone else? Well, okay, go ahead. Dr. Golden, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to say ditto to all of that. Yes, I probably am a little biased, but I think we have the finest principals in the state of Texas, and I've worked in many school districts for many years, and I feel very blessed to get to work alongside these incredible educators who, it's hard. This is a hard job. Leading schools is very challenging, and they do it with such grace, and I just love you all dearly, and we're glad we can do this little thing to celebrate you tonight.
Well, I'll end this with just a couple of comments. I've been on the board now, I guess it's been about 8 years, and I never realized how difficult your jobs are. You guys have one of the more difficult jobs that I've ever been around, okay? It carries an awesome responsibility. And I see that every time I visit, campuses. Unfortunately, I haven't had an opportunity to visit all of your campuses, but you are the backbone of your respective campus. And collectively, in my view, you are the backbone of this district. So I really appreciate what you guys do. I know it sounds those are words only, but understand it's coming from the heart, and you guys are very, very special to this district. And the difficult thing is that the success of our district just rests on your shoulders, and it's such a heavy burden to carry, but we really appreciate that. And know that the community appreciates you. People talk in our community about our principals, and there's a lot of nice things that are being said about you guys, so just know that, and know that we really appreciate you collectively as a board. So thank you very much. With that said, if anyone else would like to exit, you can exit at this time.
That's awesome.
Is it working?
Yep.
Okay, next on the agenda, public comments. In accordance with policy BED local, we would take public comments regarding items on the agenda at the beginning of the meeting, and comments regarding non-agenda items will be heard at the end of the meeting to allow the board to conduct the business of the district. I believe I have one person that's going to make a public comment, but it is on a non-agenda item. So we will have to hear that comment at the end of the meeting. So that will take us to item 4 on the agenda. Public hearing 2024-2025 first report. Dr. Golden.
Yes, so Melissa Lafferty, our Chief Financial Officer, is coming to the podium. So annually, we receive a report, an audit from the Texas Education Agency. This is a report on the financial health of a school district, and Melissa is here to provide you with information about our recent first report. And then I know we'll have a public hearing regarding that next.
All right, good evening. Tonight we're discussing our 24-25 first rating for Belton ISD. This rating is based on the 2023-24 financial data that was audited and submitted to TEA last year. The first rating system was designed to hold school districts accountable for the quality of their financial management practices and to provide financial transparency to the public. For the 24-25 year, 85% of the 1,018 districts in the state received an A rating. As you can see from the chart above, approximately about 6% have moved from an A rating to a B rating over the last 3 years. Belton ISD is still in the A rating range with a score of 98 and superior achievement. So districts are measured against 20 different financial indicators, and they're given points for each one of those indicators. After they've given points to each of the indicators, those points are then summed up to get to your overall rating, and districts can receive up to 100 points for a rating. Out of those indicators, you can see there that indicators 1 through 4 is whether or not we have a clean audit and submit our audit timely to TEA. Do we meet our obligations on time as far as TRS, IRS, and then also measure how well we maintain our fund balance. Do we have enough sufficient cash flows to meet operations? And revenues are exceeding expenditures, and if they aren't, do you have enough cash flow to continue operating? 11 through 15 are measuring your debt to asset ratios and your ability to make future debt payments. They also measure how much of your budget is spent on central office or administrative spending, and you're scored on that as well. And then finally, after our financial statements are audited, through PEMS, we submit that financial information to TEA, and the data must have the integrity and basically tie to those financial statements. And then finally, did we meet all of the financial compliance requirements in federal, state grants, and even in the accounting standards? In addition to the public hearing, districts are required to distribute what's called a financial management report. And within this report is our first rating and the performance rating for each of those indicators that we get from TEA, the superintendent's contract, and any payments or reimbursements that we've made to the superintendent and board of trustees in the execution of their duties. Copies must be available to distribute to the community if interested, and we have copies here if anyone is interested in reading that financial management report. Mr. President, we are ready to open up for public hearing.
All right. The time is 7:07 p.m. and we will now hold a public hearing regarding the 2024-2025 first report. Becca, do we have anyone sign up for comments? All right. The time is 7:07 p.m. and the public hearing is now closed. Any questions for Ms. Lafferty?
Yeah.
Chris?
First, I want to say thank you to your team, the entire business office, for the work that they do, right? I mean, this is really, this is a crazy environment with as fast as everything changes, right? And the complexity of the work that you do, the transparency with which you do your work, is paying off here. I think this is, the 14th year in a row, 15th year in a row, something like that. We've been here, so thank you for that. Just two questions. So, always looking to get the last 2 points, right? So, where did we? Can you tell us a little bit about the 2 points that we missed, and a little bit about those?
So the 2 points that we lost is in the indicator that measures the correlation between our debt service local collections and our property values. And so it's trying to measure your ability to make future debt payments into the future. Districts that are fast growth and taking on debt, because the average score for those districts that are getting an A is around a 98 to 97, and a lot of it's going to be around, your bonds and that ability to pay those payments.
Okay. And then for the chart, the bar graph where we had, you saw the last 3 years, it's an interesting trend. Do you know, can you speak to the trend overall, or no?
The only thing I can figure is that, as finances are getting, funding gets tighter, districts, it's just getting tighter and tighter and financially stressful. Yeah. Some districts, I think, are taking on additional debt just because of the growth or facility needs and the lack of that debt service funding from the state. And so you're starting to see that trend, the financial pressure that districts are facing.
Well, thank you again for your team and all the work that you'll do.
Anyone else? Thank you, Melissa.
Thanks.
That takes us to our action items, specifically item 5A. Consider discussion, take appropriate action regarding School Library Advisory Council recommendation for library materials purchase. Dr. Golan?
So Gabby Nino has joined us at the podium. So as you know, Board, we brought to you recently a resolution for implementing a School Library Advisory Council. Gabby's here this evening to share information from their meeting and a recommendation on the purchasing of some library materials.
Great. Thank you. So I want to give you just a preview into the work that's been happening as we have established our first ever local school library advisory council following your adoption of a resolution to establish one. As you all know, that you submitted recommendations for families to participate in membership of our SLAC. I'll call it SLAC moving forward. And we had our very first meeting recently, and I just want to kind of overview some of the work that we did together prior to making a recommendation to you all this evening. The first thing that we did together was really work to understand the implications from Senate Bill 13 that are in alignment with previous legislation that they built on. We provided our SLAC some resources to help them understand the legislative implications as well as just have conversations around those. We reviewed what the intent and the duties of our SLAC council are, as well as the BISD library collection guidelines, which are a pretty rigorous set of standards that we hold our materials up against and that our librarians have used to help in the building of collections and the curating of resources in our libraries. We also reviewed our book list, which is a very expansive list that I'll explain a bit to you in just shortly. What our ordering procedures have been and what they will be moving forward, as well as just looked ahead at some needs from the SLAC Council, what they would need from us in order to feel successful as a part of this group. I want to talk just a little bit about the processes that our librarians have used in selecting materials for libraries that we reviewed with the SLAC committee prior to making recommendations for book purchases with them. Our librarians curate resources from many different resources, And one of the requirements of them before considering any book to be added to our libraries is to look at reviews aligned to the standards that are set forth both in legislation and in our own standards in Belton ISD. What you see here is a list of professional sources, locations that our librarians go to compare any book up to the standards as required by the legal guidelines and our own guidelines. So this is just a list to show you multiple places that they go to visit. Anytime a librarian, I'm going to show you a couple of samples, both elementary and secondary, is considering whether or not to add a book to our collections, they go through a phase of considerations. And the very first thing they consider is why. Why would I want to add this to our collections? And many times it's because there's a new book coming out. Maybe they have just had an author visit to campus and that generated excitement among our students, among our staff, and that might be the cause for wanting to add a book to our resources. Then they consider, think about that list of different places that I just showed you. They consider many things that are appropriate or aligned to our guidelines. Consideration of age, the interest level of books that might be associated with age, yes, but maybe it's an appropriate level for a younger student, but the interest level is around 5th grade. And so they'll look at both age interest and actual reading level interest, the maturity, the content, and any connection to learning and curriculum standards. They will also consider literary appreciation. So does this book add value in the literary context? Has it received awards of merit for interest and learning styles? How are our students represented in the text? Does it encourage critical thinking and discussion among students? And so these are just some of the considerations that they look to. I have an example which you can't read, and I totally get that. It's small print, but to just show that they pull multiple different reviews when considering whether or not a book is added to our collection or recommended. And within those reviews, they are flagged for those high interest levels like I discussed. What's the merit of any book? What's an overview of the story and who is represented in it? And then, of course, whether or not the content is appropriate for the students that we serve. I'm going to flip very quickly through this next slide. The first one I showed you was an example from an elementary classroom or an elementary library. The second one is an example from a secondary of a book called The Extraordinary Orbit of Alex Ramirez. Go through the same process in considering whether a text might be added. This one's not from an author visit. This is from a release from one of our recommended publishers. And so it's just another source of information. This book is tagged for the engagement of middle school students, addresses a young man who is very highly interested in exploring space, his own unique life qualities, characteristics, and traits make things difficult for him to connect with other individuals. And this book is really about inclusivity of all learners and finding interest for them within our schools. And so it was just another example of same process our secondary librarians go through. It's very extensive work to pull reviews for every book and hold them up against our guidelines. This was some of the work that we did with our Slack. When we came together, we walked through step by step what the process is that our librarians go through. And actually, our 2 lead librarians are who walked the Slack committee through this process that they go through. Something that's really important for you all to know that comes along with the SB 13 guidelines is that any new book that we're considering for our libraries must go through the process that I just showed you all, but also something that we have to consider is that any new book with a new ISBN number must go through the same process. The reason I have this slide here for you is what you can see is a picture of 4 different versions of Charlotte's Web. Based on updates or different publishers, that book may have 4 different ISBN numbers. And so if a librarian wants to add Charlotte's Web to the library collection, and it has a new ISBN number, the requirements of Senate Bill 13 would require us to take this book through the review process again, even though we have that book in our libraries already. The intent of this is to make sure that we are reviewing content in books. So if a book was republished, we would want to make sure that the content still was appropriate, but it is a challenge that we face in the new guidelines related to Senate Bill 13. Our SLAC made the decision and added in our notes that they support our district, and if we're adding the exact same title without any changes in content, that we would be permitted to add this to our collections without having to take it to a full approval process and bring that text to you as a board. I shared this with you because as I come to you tonight with a book list recommendation, I'm bringing to you a recommendation of 700 books that we would like to add to our libraries. And that's a lot of books to ask for you all to give us permission to add to our libraries. There are repeat books on here because it's our first time, and there are books that have already been in our system that have repeated ISBN numbers, but they're on there for the first time. The other reason this book list is so long is because since legislation was in process and has been finalized, we've been working on systems to align our purchases. So in historical context, our librarians, if there was a new book out from an author, as I showed you, they could just purchase it immediately from their library budgets. No longer can that happen, and so what we are doing is streamlining the purchases that may have been unique from all of our campuses that would have happened just in time throughout the year will now have to be consolidated, and so you have several months of books on this list, as well as all of our campuses combined into one. And so it is a rather large list of books that we're recommending. We do not anticipate moving forward that we will need to bring this large of a quantity for your request for your permission to purchase. When we walked through the process with our SLAC committee, they unanimously recommended that we bring this list forward to you all with the books that our library team is recommending for addition to our library collections across Belton ISD. And with that, our recommendation is that we permit our campus libraries to add these texts to their libraries, but would like to engage in discussion with you all about any questions you have about process so far.
Any discussion from anyone? Questions? No?
Really appreciate the committee taking the time to do this. It's important work, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't have any questions either. The timeline, though, to me has been impressive. The SLAC that we were proactive as a district, as a board, and just approving it, and instead of waiting for some kind of petition like is going on in other places, we just said, let's go ahead and do this because we knew that this is something that's important to our community. And then that they already got these books approved, I'm happy with that and impressed. Gabby made a point, like when these kids get excited about a certain book, they want to read and they want to do it now, and if we let a year go by or however long it might be, they could lose interest. So I'm glad that that we're already proactive and approved all these books. So great job.
I appreciate that. Mr. Beck, you really did bring up a good point, and I want to affirm our library services team related to this as well. That has been just one of their biggest concerns. Our kids get very excited about the literature, and their role is to build a love of literacy. And so I appreciate your all support in moving on this promptly. We want books in the hands of kids to get them connected to learning and to feel excited about literacy. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Sorry, I should clarify. It hasn't been approved by us yet, but I said that it had been approved, but approved by the SLAC. And so there's several layers, and I am happy about that. There's several layers, and then there's also the kind of a protective factor that if any parent, just as a reminder, parent or community member gets concerned about any book that's on our shelves anywhere in the district, it could be put on hold in every classroom, in every library within the district. So there's so many protective factors that we have in place, so good job.
Thank you, Gabby. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the attached list of library books recommended by the School Library Advisory Council as presented? Mr. Bozon? Mr. Preston? Mr. Bozon, Mr. Preston? All those in favor, please raise your hand. It passes 6-0. That concludes our action items this evening. Next on the agenda, reports. Going to item 6A, Annual Emergent Bilingual Report. Dr. Golden?
Yes, so Gabby's going to stay at the podium. This is an annual requirement to provide to the Board of Trustees an update on our emergent bilingual services and programming. And so I'm going to turn it back over to Gabby.
Great. Well, let's start with this annual report by just talking about the language diversity that exists in Belton ISD. You have a visualization here of the highest, most frequently spoken languages other than English at home in Belton ISD. There are actually over 50 different languages spoken by our students and families other than English, and this visualization just captures the top 5, being Spanish, Vietnamese, Korean, Chinese Mandarin, and Urdu. There are many others. You can see in blue, primarily the other language spoken than English is Spanish. And so that really informs some of the services that we provide in our district. When a student enters Belton ISD or is already a student in Belton ISD, there's a criteria that determines whether they are considered an emerging bilingual student. And that is based on a home language survey that says, here are other languages that are spoken in our house other than the English that's your primary language in schools. Based on questions answered on this survey, we conduct assessments and determine whether a student is an English as a second language student or if they are in our bilingual education program. The only language other than English that's served in bilingual education is Spanish, and then all other languages are served in English as a second language structures within our system. And let me talk a little bit about what those are. If a student receives bilingual education in pre-K through 5th grade, they take part in dual language. We across the state have options. We can choose a dual language instructional approach, or we can choose a transitional language approach, which is either an early exit or a late exit. And in Belton ISD, we have adopted dual language as our bilingual education model. And that takes place both in a one-way classroom and a two-way classroom, depending on the students enrolled in your campus. If a student has English as a second language, and that's their qualifier, there are different approaches, and we employ both in Belton ISD. ESL content-based, and that is specific strategies that our teachers use to support students in the classroom with acquisition of content through just the instructional model. They are specific strategies that are used. And we also have students that are pulled out of classroom, pulled into a smaller group to receive very specific instructional strategies to support them in progressing academically in the classroom, using those strategies in a more direct model and pull-out services. So those are the different approaches that we have, and that's quite a bit, I realize, but I want to give you a picture of the participation across our system. This graph captures all of the different models that we just discussed and just shows you a visual of participation levels. ESL is at the highest participation levels, and I want you to think about the reality that there are so many other languages other than Spanish that we serve in our district, and all of those are served elementary through high school in an ESL approach. Anything that is dual language is Spanish and English side by side. And so you can see here that we do have an increase in the number of students participating in a two-way classroom. The yellow line shows one way, and it shows a slight decrease, and I'm going to explain to you why. And then the green is opt-in. That means that I am an English dominant student, that is my primary language, and I have chosen to take part in a dual language classroom where English and Spanish are learning side by side. And then the very last color coding is purple. It's a denial. There are some families who meet eligibility for either ESL or dual language bilingual services, and they deny those services because they don't want their student to participate. I want to explain the change in one way. You see a drop in that. That is not because we've had a challenge with students removing or exiting the program. When we implemented dual language, as of today, we only have one-way programming up to 5th grade. We implemented this program back in the 21 school year. And so as it progresses, we have more two-way classrooms emerging, and then one-way starts to fall off. Does that make sense? So this is really a cohort leaving rather than we've lost students. So that's a change in the data. I want to explain to you why we choose dual language. On the left is a research model that shows you what happens in elementary, middle, and high school with the different program models that I mentioned earlier as an option for us. The two most important to see are up top, the red color. Those are one-way and two-way language models. And what that shows you is that in elementary, transitional programs and dual language programs tend to have the same trajectory for growth for students academically. In transitional models, meaning early exit or late exit, that means I'm subtracting the Spanish language from the student and prioritizing English. In those models in middle school, it kind of starts to flatline and level out. For students who participate in dual language, they continue to grow academically in both English and Spanish, and they maintain their home language. And then in high school, you can start to see a slight decline in other language models, and with dual language, we continue to see growth. And this research is based on national research norms. But that's what drives why we are dual language as an instructional model for bilingual services. Over time, the trajectory for students in both language acquisition, academic success, and developing into an adult who has multiple languages, is biliterate, bilingual, and bicultural is what we want to grow in our students. The visual on the right is really, if you see red, that is Spanish, and blue is English. Just at a glance, you can see that's our language allocation model, and it shows from pre-K on the shift in language in how much we prioritize Spanish and English. And by the time students get to 4th grade, the red and blue are equal, with the goal being that a student is bilingual and biliterate, and 4th and 5th grade being able to use both languages. Okay. TELPAS is an English language proficiency assessment that students across the state of Texas take, and it's used to measure the student's acquisition of the English language. This data is most meaningful at the individual student level. It is very challenging to pull trends from this data for district level because the students do not stay in this data set over time. So I just want to make sure it's very clear that this is most useful at the individual student level. But what you can see here is K2, kindergarten through 2nd grade scores on this assessment that measures their progress in listening, speaking, reading, and writing of the English language. And you can see from 23 on the left all the way to the right is our most recent data compared to the state. What you see is that in red and blue, those are students who are beginning and intermediate students in acquiring the English language. It makes perfect sense that we have a higher degree of those students in K through 2 because they are just entering our system, and we prioritize Spanish at that age range. We do very little introduction of English in that age range. As we progress into grades 3 through 12, they are all combined in this data. So again, individual student, it's very helpful to look at this data. It is hard to draw trends when you have everybody lumped together 3 through 12. But what you can see is just stability in comparison to the state. Very little variance. We have slightly higher performance in 25 and the number of students who are advanced or advanced high than the state. Our performance is slightly higher than them. This data is not stagnant. As a student becomes advanced high in English language, they then are exited from the data. So they have acquired the English language, and so we are no longer assessing them on TELPAS. They are exited from bilingual services. So it's just important. You're not going to see a ton of change in this over time because that group of students that is embedded in there exits as well. On STAR, you can see on the left is 3 through 5 reading language arts, and on the right is 3 through 5 math. These are all of our special program students in smaller groups of students to help us measure their progress. Last school year, we saw gains in reading for our emerging bilingual students, and we saw a slight decline in the performance in 3 through 5 in math of our emerging bilingual students. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why I think that is when we look at high school data. In our performance at middle school levels, very similar to elementary. We saw slight gains in literacy, or really more of a flat line, and a small dip in math in grades 6 through 8 in math. In high school, we see the same trend. We see small gains in English language arts, small declines in math. What you see on the very bottom is a biology visualization. And I want you to see that sharp climb in the performance of emerging bilingual students. The reason I have this in here is because I believe it has significant implications for us at all grade levels. That is biology, and our standards changed in science 2 years ago, and we began implementing new practices in science last school year. The learning model is considered phenomenon-based. It is very hands-on learning experiences where students build background knowledge first before they really are learning the content. So students are placed into a phenomenon experience to draw conclusions based on their thinking. It's an inquiry model driven by questions, and then the standards are linked up to it for content specific. We've asked ourselves why we see that big change, and it really illustrates an alignment to highly effective ESL strategies and emerging bilingual strategies in giving hands-on based experiences so students have the opportunity to listen, speak, read, and write about what they're learning. And so actually, Christy Chandler, who is serving both as our Director of Professional Learning and supporting our multilingual services, is really working with our teams on high quality professional learning to ensure those strategies are used across all content areas. Here are some key focus areas for us in strengthening supports for our emerging bilingual students. One I just mentioned is through high quality professional learning, ensuring that across our system, both our leaders and our teachers are having really strong experiences and what are the strategies that are most specific to support the students who are emerging bilingual students. Many people will tell you that they are just high quality instructional strategies. We will tell you they are high quality strategies that must be guaranteed for students who are emerging bilingual students. We have identified that we need stronger clarity in our secondary schools about how we serve students. And so Christy and our team are working very closely with our secondary schools around direct supports for our emerging bilingual students and high quality instruction. Working very hard to engage our families. We last week had a Parents as Partner event for our dual language families, and there was not a seat open in the house. And that was very exciting for us. Used different strategies where our students had opportunities to perform, brought our families there, and we were able to engage them much differently. And so we will continue some of those strategies. And then resource investment for our teachers. This is the first year that our dual language teachers have had the same instructional resource as our monolingual, our core English dominant classrooms. They have always been operating out of different resources. And so when we went through the adoption process, we ensured that we could get aligned so that they can engage in collaborative professional learning and planning for students in partnership with their peers in a different way. And we've gotten some pretty fantastic feedback from our dual language teachers that makes us proud. So with that was quite a bit of information about how we serve our emerging bilingual students in Belton ISD, and I'd like to answer any questions that you have.
Questions for Gabby? Anyone?
Just want to go back to the math question one more time. So, so when you were talking about biology, right, you were talking about the steep incline, steep improvement being really because of the hands-on activities. They got to speak, right, you know, sort of immerse themselves in the language in multiple ways. So I guess the opposite of that is you're saying that those opportunities don't exist in math today. Is that what the point was? Or
I wouldn't say that they don't exist, but it is a targeted area for improvement for us, that we have to have those experience-based learning opportunities.
Okay.
The other thing is the academic vocabulary is slightly different in math for students in other languages. And so there's got to be an emphasis on the academic vocabulary embedded within math concepts.
Okay. I think the math curriculum that we approved several months ago, right, had several supplemental materials, including manipulatives and all kinds of stuff, right? So I would assume then that some of that should potentially help along this direction.
100%. In our updates this summer, Mr. Floor, with our curriculum updates, there was the massive transition last year, but one of the key areas of emphasis this summer was putting differentiated strategies in, and the English language proficiency standards are embedded in all of our documents now, which specifically references what you're using. And then our resources that we adopted have those embedded supports as well.
Got it. All right. Thank you.
No one else? Well, Gabby, I think you're up again. That takes us to 6B. Goal 5 Teacher Incentive Allotment Report. Dr. Golden?
Yes, and she's going to be joined. You see Todd Schiller is moving towards the podium. So as you know, Board, we shared with y'all, we've had updates on TIA in the past. Last April, we let the Texas Education Agency know that we were moving forward with becoming a teacher incentive allotment district. And so just wanted the team to be able to give you an update on where we are and provide you with some information because they will be back. And Melissa will be working with us in the next board meeting in November on the spending plan for TIA. And so this is just to catch you up on where we are today.
Good evening, Board. So as Dr. Golden mentioned, we're here tonight to provide a report regarding the data capture year for the Belton ISD Teacher Incentive Allotment. So this year is that data capture year for the 25-26 school year. TIA requires us to collect two types of information, one of them regarding student growth, and we're doing that around assessments from STAR-REN, and we are also responsible for collecting teacher evaluation data, and we're using our T-test instrument that we use for teacher evaluations for that data element. Once we collect the data in October 2026, we'll be required to supply that information to Texas Tech University. Texas Tech is the organization that was chosen to review the data collected from school districts in the state to be able to determine its validity. And so once we hear back from Texas Tech University or from TEA regarding the TIA validity, then we anticipate providing payments, our first round of payments, in the June 2027. And so this, as mentioned in the title on the agenda, this is related to Goal 5. This is about maximizing our financial resources for our teachers. And we did create a key progress measure surrounding this. And it is about developing those systems of support for all of campuses and doing that by May of 2026. And so throughout this presentation, you're going to hear information regarding systems of support and kind of where we're at to date with some of the things that we've created. I want to orient y'all to this slide here, and so I wanted to talk a little bit before we jump into the systems of support, just about the funding for Belton ISD teachers. And so these numbers that you see here want to throw caution to it. This is for 24-25 school year. These numbers will change every year. These numbers are not determined by us, they're determined by TEA, and they're based on the economic status of students on campus, so the economic disadvantage. So the higher the economic disadvantage number, the higher the potential dollar increase that would be provided if a teacher meets those recognized exemplary master criteria. And so when you look at that recognized level, you'll see 3201 to 6935. That 3201 would be for like a Lakewood Elementary. That's our lowest number of economic disadvantage. And then the higher number that you see there would be for like our Southwest. And so that holds true for that recognized exemplary and master's level. You'll notice that there's a level at the top. That's new for 26-27. So by the time we are ready to provide our first payments, that acknowledged level will be a new criteria. What we anticipate and can see is these numbers, dollar amount numbers will just shift. Like, so recognized will become acknowledged, exemplary will become recognized, and masters will become exemplary. And there'll be some tweaking of those numbers as well. But again, these numbers are just for this school year. By the time we provide our payments, these numbers will change. And again, TEA updates these numbers every year. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Gabby, and she's going to talk through the systems of support.
So our systems of support for the implementation of TIA during this data capture year really fall into 4 areas. One, our communication plan, our data integrity and technology supports, a focus on student growth and teacher observation, and what our spending plan is. Based on conversations we've even had this evening in our Goal 2 workshop, you'll hear some overlap on our work with our teachers and our campus leaders. We have worked very hard to align the practices that already exist in Belton ISD to strengthen those in support of teachers being identified for student growth through the TIA system. Related to our communication plan, we have focused in areas of updating our staff and community, how we are informing and engaging teachers, and how we are informing and engaging our principals and APs. So far, we have worked on a shared, aligned presentation that all of our principals were walked through and trained in, that then they were able to deliver to their campuses so that all of our teachers were informed of the TIA process and our plans for Belton ISD. We've also built out a website. Our communications team has been very helpful in that. What is currently living on our website is an overview video, kind of giving the ins and outs of TIA, as well as a frequently asked questions page. And so our staff, as questions are emerging, can submit those questions and we will respond to those. There is also a statewide FAQ that is included that gives some broader perspective on TIA across the state. And then in addition, I mentioned it, but we have aligned campus overview presentations that our campus leaders provided to teachers. Our next steps, after we have our snapshot day as a district, we will have to go back into our data again to validate that who we have coded as a TIA eligible teacher is still captured in that data. We may have had, just as an example, as we level our master schedules, a teacher may have been added into an eligible group that wasn't in what we originally projected, and so we need to go back after that date to make sure that each and every teacher who is eligible and designated for TIA gets direct communication with them. And then the staff will also be provided with a guidebook that articulates in a handbook style all of the details of TIA implementation in Belton ISD. Related to data integrity and technology, it is extremely important for our systems to be aligned and for our coding to be accurate in order for us to, one, measure student progress as well as determine designations for teachers. And so this semester has already been We have been deeply embedded in studying our data, studying our coding, and making sure that all of that is accurate and assigned appropriately. It's been a great process for improvement for us, but this is work that we had started last year, as you all are aware of, with our PEMS auditing. But data integrity this year is critically important for us in order to validate and ensure that, again, that student growth is measured as well as teacher alignment to that growth is determined. We, in this process, there's been a verification of course codes with teachers who are assigned to that course code, making sure that we are all using aligned coding across the system. And again, like I mentioned before, we may have had teachers who were adjusted in the master scheduling that were not initially a part of the grouping that are now, and so we have to make sure that all that data is verified prior to submission. Just a reminder for you all, in our phase 1 designated groups, we really asked ourselves which classrooms were ready, which groups of teachers were ready. And when I say ready, I mean we had the tools and resources in place already that would allow us to implement TIA. The requirements of TIA are that you have a beginning of year, a pre-assessment, and then throughout the year you can measure student growth within that classroom. So there had to be a pre-test. Star Ren that we looked at today serves as a pretest for us at beginning of year. A post-test could be considered the end of year Star Renaissance assessment. There also has to be a growth measure. Star Renaissance has a student growth projection embedded in it, and then a teacher must have an annual T-test evaluation. So the groups that we've designated are kindergarten through 5th grade reading and math, including our dual language classrooms, 6th through 8th grade reading and math, including modified classrooms. So a student who might be participating in modified instruction that is pulled out has the same data available for them in middle school. Algebra 1, including our modified classrooms. English 1, English 2, including both modified and ESOL classrooms. So these are our eligible teacher groups in our first phase of TIA implementation. In support and learning for both our teaching staff and our principals, first of all, we had to make sure that we had our annual assessment calendar outlined with all of our Star Renaissance testing and windows articulated, and that we are following the practices related to high quality assessment implementation. We provided professional learning and resources for teachers to strengthen their understanding of Star Renaissance. We offer every other Tuesday so far. We've offered learning sessions around Star Renaissance for teachers, and have also been heavily supporting our campus leaders and instructional coaches so they can support that work. For our administrators, and our teachers as well, we've provided professional learning on T-tests and the evaluation system. An example of that is just last Friday, all of our campus principals in the district came together and did what we call calibration. We calibrate throughout the year in our principal learning, but this was specific to T-tests. And so they observed videos, all principals and APs did together. They observed videos at each of the different levels, elementary, middle, and high school, and then they had to rate the instruction that they observed, and then we went through a process of studying, were we aligned in our ratings, or did we need to take some steps to come into further alignment? That calibration is critical for the success of TIA. And so that last bullet was what I was talking about for the professional learning for our administrators. All of our principals have also retrained their campus team, their teachers, in the T-test evaluation system this school year. So at this time, I'm going to turn back over to Todd, who's going to discuss the spending plan, not the splending plan, I apologize. Yes, the spending plan.
So as mentioned previously, so the spending plan would be coming back in November for board action. It's actually the only element of the teacher incentive allotment that actually requires board approval. So we are planning for that in the month of November at the regular board meeting. What we've talked about with budget committee is a split where we'd have 90% of the allotment dollar amount go towards compensation, and then the remaining 10% being held back for administrative costs, professional learning, and growth assessments. We know that as we continue to grow this and add additional content areas over the upcoming years, because that's our plan, is to grow this, that we are going to have more assessments that need to be developed and those types of things, which is going to cost us money in the future. And so to be able to hold that 10% back for those additional costs that's going to come along with the implementation part of this plan would be our proposal. So with that, I'll turn it over to any questions.
Any questions for Todd or Gabby? Mr. Beck?
On the goal portion of that, it mentioned designated campuses. Which campuses would not be designated?
Yeah, so every campus, there's going to be, so every campus, so pretty much all your elementary teachers in regular ed classrooms are going to be aligned to that and be eligible for that, as well as the content areas that Gabby pointed out with math and algebra and so forth.
Next question is, are there any like caps that could one school really just dominate? If that school is just, does really well, it doesn't matter, does it matter at all? Are there any caps that can go to any, the schools, or is it just if they meet this criteria, they get it?
Yeah, so if I understand your question correctly, there's not a cap. The goal is that each and every student grows, and so this incentive allotment is designed to support that. And so there's not a cap on the number of teachers that could meet eligibility or could meet that payout.
Great. And then just one more question. I wondered about migration when I looked at that slide. When I say migration, what would happen? The slide that has to do with the money, the difference between say $7,000 and $25,000. I'm assuming the $25,000, the master, that would be to the lower economic schools, right?
Yes.
So essentially that could incentivize teachers to move to those lower economic. Or are there any? Have we looked into that and thought about what could happen in our district considering that?
Either one of us, I think, could jump in on that. We as a district do have incentives in place to support teachers and recruitment to our highest need campuses. This is an additional, and that's absolutely the intention of the structure of TIA, to incentivize campuses that have higher needs.
That's all, thank you.
Chris?
So while we're here, I'll steal a little bit of my own thunder from the budget committee report. So you got to take these numbers with a grain of salt, okay? So just because a teacher is maybe ends up as a master teacher at campus with the highest SES percentage, right? Doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to see $25,117 added to their paycheck, right? So there's all kinds of like taxes have to come out of that, all kinds of stuff, right? So then we're going to have to do a lot of communication, and we talked about the communication level that's going to need to happen, especially given what we went through with the latest compensation improvements that came through from the last session, and there was some confusion over like how is that going to hit my paycheck, right? This is what I expect. It's not as simple as just this number, and so we did ask that there's a pretty robust communication plan that goes in place to kind of communicate this to our teachers.
And Todd, correct me if I'm wrong, but the state will re-establish these dollar amounts every year.
Every year.
So I could qualify in the master's category in 1 year minus taxes and all those things that come out of a paycheck, but I could get $1 amount, and then the next year those dollar amounts are reset by TEA, and that could be a different dollar amount.
Yeah, I think the dollar amount, once you're in, I think that dollar amount stays the same every year.
So the dollar amount stays the
If
same.
you
but-
become eligible, that'll be the establishment for that.
So Gabby could have gone into it the year prior, and it's a certain dollar amount. I come in new the next year, I'm still at a master's, but that dollar amount could be slightly different based on what TEA establishes.
That is our understanding of it, yes.
Okay.
So one other footnote, if you can go to the spending plan slide. Okay, so that one, Yeah, that one is also one that we talked about in depth in the budget committee. So even holding back 10%, which I think is the maximum we're allowed to do, it still doesn't necessarily cover all the potential costs that would go into supporting this, right? So, you know, when you take a look at what do we have here? Like, you know, the costs related to the testing, the STAR RAN, the interim testing, like the beginning and the end of year, the TIA support, the T-tests, some of the professional learning and development. When you take into some of the costs that we expect to have, even holding back the 10%, it doesn't necessarily cover it all. It covers a pretty good chunk of it. But just to throw that out there, because initially we had been talking about potentially 100% going to that top line and not holding anything back. But going to the 10%, like I said, I think where we need to go.
I guess with this same slide now, I have another question that just came up. So what this is saying that is, please correct me here if I'm wrong, but so if the teacher earns that, our district is going to retain 10% of those funds?
Right, so in the example that we were talking about, the 25,117, so 90% of that would go to the teacher in some way, shape, or form. If all those conditions are met for that level, 10% would come back, would be used for the district to essentially administer and improve and measure, you know, for the program. So that's what I said, like there's a lot to those numbers, and you can't just take like, oh my gosh, I met that criteria, I'm gonna see $25,000 more. It's not that easy. Yeah.
Where are we at compared to peer districts regarding that? Are we about right in line there?
That is a good point. Most districts that have developed this have been 90-10, and those that aren't are trying to move towards the 90-10 model because of the costs that are going into the implementation of this.
Anyone else?
I'll just say I'm super excited that we're implementing this. I mean, I think it's
Absolutely.
Was a great benefit for our teachers, and I appreciate all the work that's gone into developing it on an administrative level so that our teachers can reap the benefits. So thank you, and looking forward to hearing a report in a couple of years about teachers getting a lot of incentive allotment. So.
Anyone else? Okay, that will take us to item 6C.
Thank y'all.
School Health Advisory Council report. Dr. Golan?
Yes, while Dr. Spearman's walking up, just a quick thank you to Gabby and Todd. But Deanna Love-Smith is also doing a tremendous amount of work behind the scenes on TIA, as well as our communications team, Christine. So there's a whole team working behind the scenes on that. So thank y'all. All right, Dr. Spearman is coming up to provide an annual report for our School Health Advisory Council. This report typically has been put on consent, but wanted to make sure, particularly for new members of our Board of Trustees, to have the opportunity to hear what is a SHAC committee. And Dr. Spearman has been leading this work for us, and I'm super proud of her. We're going to turn it over to Cassandra.
Thank you. Good evening. Can you hear me? Okay, I am honored to be here tonight to share the annual report for the School Health Advisory Council. And like Gabby has Slack, we have SHAC. Very similar, but we focus on the health of our students and staff within the district. So SHAC, look at me messing up. SHAC is a group of individuals from various areas within our district. We come together at least 4 times a year, and we study best practices around school health and programming. We make recommendations to the board for policy, procedures, and practices that we'd like to see within our district. Some of the objectives of SHAC is to promote quality health education programs that span over our health services, our food nutrition services, physical education. We also vet curriculum for wellness, such as, I'm going to say SEL, but that's a language, our social emotional learning, our child abuse curriculum, as well as our human and sexuality curriculum. Those are all curriculums that are also vetted through SHAC, and we make a recommendation to the school board. SHAC does have legislative requirements. One is that there has to be a parent as a co-chair, and the last 2 years, Ms. Lynette Warwick has been our co-chair for SHAC. We are required to have a minimum of 5 appointed members. I am proud to say that we have 27 members. Majority of those members must be parents who are non-employees of Belton ISD, and so we've been able to maintain a pretty healthy committee. We are required to meet 4 times a year. When we start planning for the year, we schedule 4 meetings. However, if the work is not done, we add additional meetings to get the work done, whatever projects that we're working on. So this past school year, we met 6 times. And then we're also required to provide an annual report to the school board, and tonight is the annual report that we're required to provide. During the 24-25 school year, the SHAC committee engaged in several things that we think moved the needle a little bit around school wellness for our students and our staff. One, we worked together to complete a triennial assessment, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that assessment in just a minute. We updated our wellness plan based on that assessment, as well as other input that was gathered from the committee. We participated, supported the Parents as Partners activities, where in October we provided a fentanyl and opioid abuse training, and then in April, which was virtual, and then in April, in person, we provided a wellness session where we had our dietitians, food nutrition, come and talk to us about creating healthy snacks at home and the importance of healthy snacks. We had our director of health talk to us about diabetes care, and then our safety team talked to us about the trends that we're seeing with drugs in our area. And then the big work that I'm most proud of is we partnered with our director of counseling, our counselors, and other departments to review curriculum and adopt the, we recommended and the board adopted Play It Safe curriculum for child abuse instruction for students in pre-K through grade 5. The triennial assessment, and I apologize for the misspelled word, I looked at it 1,000 times, didn't catch it, my apologies. The triennial assessment, we used a tool created by WellSat, which is in our policy that would be the tool that we would use. It is a 3-year assessment, and it requires us to look through all of our policies and written guidance. It's important. It has to be written within a policy or a procedure or an expectation to determine if we are, A, meeting all of the requirements, whether it be federal, state, or local, but also some of the best practices. And so there's 2 parts to the score. The first part is the comprehensive score, and the comprehensive score requires us to read through every policy that we have and determine whether or not it is even addressed inside of our policies. And so our score was a 70 on a scale of 0 to 100. Our score was a 70, and the national average is 54. So I'm pretty proud of that score. We didn't even know that when we started the process, but it shows that we are doing quite well considering the national score. And then the second part of the score is the strength score, and that's where you look at your policies and you determine whether it's a recommendation or if it's a requirement. For example, if we were to recommend that teachers not use food as a reward versus say teachers are prohibited from using food as a reward, there's a different score if it's a recommendation versus if it is a requirement. That's the difference between the 2 scores. And so with that being said, we completed the assessment, we brought it back to the SHAC committee, and we reviewed the assessment, and I am very, it was very interesting in looking over the assessment because we have several areas where we had to give ourselves a 0. So a 0 was if you don't have anything in policy at all. Remember, it had to be written. Not what we do, it has to be written. And then a 1 if it was in policy, but it was recommended, and then a 2 if it was in policy and it was required. Well, the first bullet here, availability of water throughout the day, we've been doing that for years in Belton ISD, but it's not written anywhere in any of our guidance documents. And so that was low-hanging fruit, we felt. Recess cannot be taken for punishment. We began this journey last year, and now it's legislatively required. We're not able to withhold recess for any reason, academic or behavioral. And so where that was a 0 because it wasn't mentioned in our policy, it would now be a 2. If we were rating today, it would be a 2. Encouraging physical activity for rewards. Well, we recommend it, but it's not written anywhere in our policies. And so these were easy things. Addresses substitution of physical education. We addressed that last year. We had meetings and we updated our policies, but it was after we completed the assessment. And so at the time that we completed the assessment, it was a 0. Today it would be a 2. And so we found several areas on the assessment where we could easily make improvements because some of them we're already doing. We just need to add them to our policies and our wellness plan, which is exactly what we did. We updated, after we completed the assessment, we updated our wellness plan to address the items that we were already doing that just we didn't have them written, and then also other areas of things that we thought that we could also improve upon. And so then we have recommendations for the upcoming 2025-2026 school year, which begins for the SHAC after this meeting, to continue to review and update our wellness plan. There were several legislative changes in the 89th session that impacts wellness within our school district, such as the consent forms for counseling and for health services, that our SHAC committee will spend quite a bit of time studying and understanding those legislative updates, and then updating our wellness policy and plans as we better understand the new requirements. We want to continue to partner with within the BISD community, such as Baylor Scott and White, to offer health and wellness resources to students and staff. One of the main changes that we made in our wellness plan was to address students and staff, not just our students and their wellness, and then also to explore additional ways to engage the BISD community in wellness activities. Like I said, our SHAC meetings begin after this annual report, and in your consent package, you have a recommended roster of SHAC members. We will start on November 3rd and conclude on May 7th. Again, we may add additional dates if the work is not done and we need to add dates to get it all finished. Any questions?
Any questions for Dr. Spearman? Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
That takes us to our board committee reports. Policy committee. I guess, Riley, that'd be you since.
Essentially, we went over the SLAC committee, the library committee, so the same slides that we went over tonight, so I won't repeat any of that, but
Okay.
That's what we went over.
All right, sounds good. That takes us to budget committee.
Do we have an hour? No, just kidding.
Yeah. Got 1 minute.
All right. Okay, so we took a look at the budget development timeline, right? So we're already looking ahead towards the 26-27 budget planning calendar. So you all should have a copy of this already, but we took a look at this, talked through it, and talked about maybe even pulling some of these items up a little bit earlier by a month or two to see if we can get a jump start on that process. We also talked about the idea of setting budget goals. So, you know, for the last couple of years, we have set a list of budget assumptions, right?
Right.
But there's some conversation coming out of the last conference that we went to around also maybe setting budget goals, right? That we can provide to the administration to help them initially put together some runs of the budget. So think about like, one goal might be that, we have to, establish a budget that adheres to the board policy for, percent of fund balance, right? Like that might be a goal. A balanced budget might be a goal, right? There's some discussion about, whether we want to do that and where we might do that in the process. We talked about the efficiency audit timeline. So in the event that you were ever going to talk about the tax rate on the operations and maintenance side, you would have to have an efficiency audit that was done, I think within a year. And so we're talking about, should we do an efficiency audit? And if we should do one, when would we like to do it? Because in theory, if you're going to do an audit, you want to give yourself some time to also act on whatever the audit may find. So we talked a little bit about that. We got an enrollment update, so we're within 30 students, at least as of the 14th. We were within 30 students of our demographic projection, so pretty darn close. But the snapshot day is the 31st, so we're coming up on that.
So 30 students short.
Yes, 30 students short, yeah, of the demographic. I mean, as a percentage of the whole, it's pretty small, but every student counts, right?
Right.
And then we talked about some TIA spending plan, and so we've already talked about that, so I won't get into that anymore. Did I leave anything out?
No, we did talk a little bit about the way that we want to evaluate data, kind of more taking a deeper dive into kind of by campus and by function, really so that we can get a better understanding of the budget and help us set what those budget goals are. If we want to target funding towards a specific initiative, then just having more data to figure out where we plug that in will be super helpful. But we covered everything else. Thank you.
We're busy. Sounds like you guys were. Thank you, guys. All right, facilities.
Yeah, facilities, first part of it, we just went over a 22 bond report discussion, slowly starting to close out those things such as Delta and the different projects we have going on. The next one was request for quotes on the project manager for the storm damage. Insurance is paying for that, for us to bring in a contractor to manage it. It looks like we've chosen, I believe it's HPM is how we say it. They did the facilities, is that correct, Coach? They did the facilities master plan for us, where they walked all of our campuses. They already knew this is one of the services they do. It's handy to have. They know this school. They know every bit about it. There'll be more coming in November, but we did talk a little bit about True North Comprehensive Technology Assessment. It's very similar to the assessment that we did a few years ago on our facilities, where somebody went in, cataloged everything, told us what we have, when things are going to start aging out. The stuff that we're working on now, facilities, it'd be the same thing from a technology standpoint, so that we can get a master list going so that us and future boards know, hey, this is what's coming down the pike, down the road. And then, of course, we talked about the Tiger Field reimbursement resolution update on the turf, video boards, and the replacement of lights. So, and the bids that we're getting in on that. So that was it. Did I miss anything, Riley? No. Sorry, Rucker. I'm looking right there, over there.
Thank you, Jeff. Well, that brings us to the bosses report. Oh, by the way, happy belated Bosses Day. Yeah.
I should be saying that to y'all. Sorry about that. Thank y'all. So it's been an incredibly busy month since we were here last, and I'm just going to hit some quick highlights. Thank you so much for those who were able to attend our open house for the launching of this amazing Delta program, and in this facility that was specifically designed to meet our 18-plus student needs. And these young adults are incredible. They were very excited to give us tours of this facility, and so we're just exceptionally excited to have students there and utilizing this great space that was designed for them. Also this month, we did quite a few visits to campuses with our board members. We visited, some of these are just pictures from Sparta, Leon Heights, High Point, Charter Oak. We also had a chance to go to Well, those were the campuses I just listed. So these are just board members, and I just cannot begin to thank y'all for giving our principals an opportunity to let them really share with you the focus areas for improvement on their campuses, and then get into classrooms and actually see firsthand what our incredible teachers are doing and our incredible students. And so more visits are being scheduled for this semester and then also for next semester, so more to come. So thank y'all so much for joining us. I had an incredible opportunity, and I'm just so thankful there's not a video attached to this, but had an opportunity to go be a part of the Magic Bells. We have incredible dance programs at both of our comprehensive high schools, and these young women taught me one of their routines, and then we just had a great opportunity to talk about my own story, how I ended up in the position I'm in. Just listening to their stories, they actually inspire me, and I'm so proud of them. And so just a shout out to them and a thank you for letting me be a part of their incredible program. And then we also launched our Superintendent Student Advisory Council, our first meeting. These incredible young men and women came together with us recently. This was our first meeting. Had the opportunity to hear from our students what's on their minds, what are the topics they really want to dig in and explore. I will tell you, it didn't take a whole lot of team building with them to get them to talk cross campus. Sometimes it takes a little prodding to get them outside of the comfort zone of their own campuses. That was not the case with this group. They did an incredible job. Their voices matter. They are going to be helping us also develop a leadership profile for students. So just as we did our leadership profile for principals, we've done an executive level leadership profile, also an assistant principal one. They are going to help us actually design a student one that is aligned to our leadership definition, what's important to Belton ISD in terms of building culture, empowering people, pursuing excellence. So I'm super excited about the work we're going to be doing with them this year. And then finally, have been doing a lot of information sessions for the upcoming election that is November 4th. Early voting started today. It goes until the 31st. Lots of polling locations, and so just getting information out there about what is on the ballot for Belton ISD. And that has been our month. It's been a busy month.
Thank you, Dr. Golan. Any questions for Dr. Golan? Well, okay, thank you, ma'am. That takes us to the consent agenda. Anyone wish to pull an item for discussion? All right, do you have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented? Mr. Preston? Second, Mr. Norwood? All those in favor, please raise your hand. That passes 6-0. That takes us to item 8, public comments. I do have one person signed up. Is Mr. Kent still here? Mr. Kent, as you move up to the podium, let me read some information in the record, but your time won't start until I finish up, okay? In accordance with District Policy BED Local, any person wishing to address the Board of Trustees during public comment shall sign up before the meeting. In order to comply with the Texas Open Meetings Act, the board may not respond to comments or otherwise discuss or act upon any issues that are not posted on the meeting agenda. Participants will be allowed 3 minutes for public comments regarding items on the agenda. And of course, you're going to speak to us about an item that's not on the agenda. There'll be a timer that will give you 3 minutes. Sir, if you would, please tell us your name, and then you may begin.
My name is Dr. Gary Kent. I want to, first of all, my reason to come here is just to tell you thank you. Thank you for what you have been doing in the community. Well, excuse me, Dr. Golden and the rest of the members of the board. You all have been doing a great job. For the past 3 years, I have been doing my part in helping with the pushing and encouraging of the education of our children, because it's very important to me. I just want to solicit my assistance, collaboration in helping. Come from a background of prior city council member, retired chief of police. So I have the thing, I've been substituting for the last 3 years. And let me tell you, the kids here are awesome. I've been like flip-flopping between Killeen here, but I said Belton is the place to be. So I want to encourage you all to, if no one has told you today, thank you. Thank you for what you're doing, and let's keep doing it, because our children deserve it, because there's so many things that I could say about the experiences that I have when I do substitute. And I tell you, I love it, because it's nothing like when the light comes on when you're teaching a child. So that's what I wanted to say. I know that a lot of times the lone person that comes up, you're like, oh my goodness, what is he going to say? But I want to thank each and every one of you. That could have been my mindset, but when you seen me, you greeted me, and that means a lot. And I think it, and I know it was genuine. So thank you on that. So kudos and thank you.
Thank you, sir. Oh. Looks like I skipped an item. Going back to board highlights, anyone wish to tell us about their, oh, Mr. Norwood.
Actually have some, because everybody knows me, I hate long meetings, so I don't talk about these. But a couple of quick things. One of them, I know Trustee Floor got there right after I had left, but Camp Champions was, I guess, 2 or 3 weeks ago now, and I encourage board members to make it out there. It was actually brought here by Coach Cope from A&M Consolidated when he came, and special ed has really embraced it alongside with like our Special Olympics and just all the stuff that we do with our special needs population. You have to look around at other districts and see that not everybody does the things that we do. But something I've taken away, and I really have 2 points I want to make. One of the things I've taken away in all the years of now doing the Camp Champions and the Special Olympics, we have a number, and the Penguin Project is not involved in that as much, but one thing that I take away from that is, these kids are either volunteered or voluntold, because that's the way the world works. When I have gen ed kids that are participating, our athletes, our cheerleaders, our people in the arts, all that, when they do that. And what I have learned and what I have loved watching is, that's difficult on these kids because it's something new to them. It's almost like watching someone the first time they see a baby and they're scared to hold it until they realize it. And I've watched these kids grow, and I've talked to these parents. And I'm not talking about our special needs population. I'm talking about the kids that are going out there helping, and I've watched these kids grow. And the empathy that they have, and talking to them. I know a lot of these kids. I'm talking to them, telling me about it, and they're like, well, the first year I did, I was so scared, because it's different to them. But what they learn is, yeah, these kids, they do look different. They maybe have special needs, they have things. But what they've learned is they're kids, just like we are. And, we talk about, what we're trying to develop here. And I am so proud of our special ed department and what they do. But the side effect of having these kids at a young age experience this, have empathy for people who don't look like them. And we're trying to develop leaders. Well, that's the kind of leaders I want. And then something totally unrelated, wasn't from a board stir, got to volunteer at a few different things in my non-board hat, kind of like Chris does in some things. And just a special thanks. I got to volunteer one night with Mr. Alcoser's wife in a concession stand, and have got to do a couple other little things like that. Go to these events at our schools, okay? And we're always out in the front. We've got our shirts, and people know who we are, whether we want them to or not. The fact is, our schools don't have the events. They don't work without all these people behind the scenes that we never see. You never see the people in the concession stand for the most part. But you know what? If they're not there, We don't have food to serve. We don't ever realize who's picking up tickets. These are volunteers. These are parents. A lot of these are also our staff and our teachers who they're not getting paid to be there. But these events don't take place if they're not there. So I think that, I just a shout out to all those, those unseen people that are behind the scenes every day doing things that make this campus work, but we never see them. So just, hopefully if one of them are watching this, just, thank you for all that you do out there. For this community, Belton ISD is a great place because we have great people that step up and volunteer. And that's just the way it is. So that's it.
Thank you, Jeff. Anyone else? Mr. Bozo?
Just mention that the Belton Education Foundation had the casino night this weekend, and it was an awesome event. Took a lot of hours of volunteers by our planning committee, and they did an amazing job. I would say that they always do a good job, but I think this was the most fun. I really liked the casino night aspect of it. So great job to Kim, our executive director, and Ellen, our president this year, and Alex and Barron, who led the event committee. So thank you so much.
Chris?
Man, mid-September through mid-October is real. I'm just going to tell you. There's been a lot going on. I mean, amazing Delta opening, right? So
Yes.
I won't hit that. We already hit that again. I mean, all I have to say is this. When they get the bocce court in, I want an invite, and I want to go play bocce with the kids. Okay, let's go. Man, all over the community from a community meeting standpoint, the First Methodist Church of Belton, the men's breakfast was an awesome outing, even though Jay Taggart was wearing me out. The Temple Public Policy Council was also another great meeting. Belton Chamber, all of those were great to represent. Went to the second, I can't say it's annual, but the second Bronco Boil to raise funds for Project Celebration. Was a pretty awesome event that also drew some folks out to some of the freshman football games. So hopefully that increased their attendance a little bit. Got to participate in the City of Belton's Manufacturing Day. So that's a collaboration between the city, the BEDC, workforce development, and so I got to be a teacher. I got to go visit Belton High School and Lake Belton High School, do a little bit of instruction on what it's like to be in the IT consulting industry, and then I got to host the two groups of kids at my office to then continue on with a panel discussion. So that was awesome. Let's see, Bandtober. If you've never heard the term Bandtober, that is definitely real. That is the competition season for our bands. And not only do they perform on Fridays, but they also generally go from, finishing up at 11:30 at night to like leaving at like 7 o'clock in the morning to go to an all-day competition and not getting back till 2:30 in the morning every weekend in a row. So, and I got to tell you, congratulate your local band member, whether they are a Marching 100 or whether they're the Stampede. They're both advanced out of UIL region, so they're both going to area. They are representing our fine arts well. And then just a plug for our upcoming theater productions. If you haven't gone or don't know about it, look for them because they're pretty awesome.
Thank you, Chris. Becker?
I'll say a little bit of the same. Obviously, doing the campus visits is one of the favorite things we all get to do, but getting to go to High Point and Chisholm Trail, I think, is where we were to get, or Charter Oak. Great getting to be in the classroom, volleyball. I got to go to my first Lake Belton High School game this year and went with Chris. And you talk about the people behind the scenes, and Chris gave me a good behind-the-scenes look at a lot of the work that goes on for the band and putting together the halftime show and seeing the Stampede. And that was really, really fun to go to that game for homecoming this past week. Same night was Witches in Salem at BHS. I did not get to go to New Tech production. I wanted to, but I couldn't.
It was so good.
Yeah, I heard it was amazing. I heard some parents, yeah. But I did get to see the BHS production. It was excellent, really well done as usual. I got to go to walk the halls at Belton High School for the tennis team. They got the send-off to go after winning district for tennis, and I'd never been to anything like that, and just to see the drum line and the cheerleaders and everyone come through was just excellent. And And then last night, or a couple nights ago, the BEF. You talked about Ellen and Kim and everyone, the leadership there. They raise a lot of money for our teachers and our students and our paraprofessionals. I think they raise around $450,000 that are distributed a year that go right straight into our teachers, our classrooms, our students who are graduating. So great job again for BEF.
Thank you, Rucker. Riley?
I went and did some campus visits, Hubbard Branch, Southwest, Sparta, and Leon Heights. It was interesting as we would walk into the room. I was worried we were going to interrupt and be a nuisance, kind of, being 4 or 5, 6 of us. And I was kind of pleased to see that we weren't. The students were locked in with their teachers and somewhat, I guess, desensitized to that. So it kind of showed me that I feel like our principals are getting in there and watching what our teachers are doing, and our teachers are just engaged with the students, and so that was uplifting. I realized just even more how demanding a teacher's job is, keeping those kids engaged all day long. And again, these were all elementary schools, so it'd be a tough job. There was one of the schools that I went to particularly that just blew me away. During their flex time, they call it win time. So there's an hour a day where they're studying English language arts or math. And this particular school, what they did is they basically work as a community, and they take their kids, depending on the level that they're at in English or math, and send them to different teachers in different classrooms. And it's the first time that I've ever truly believed and seen that differentiated learning can happen on a big scale. I don't know how teachers can do it with, we review these stats every day, and there's low performing students and there's high performing students in elementary, and they're all thrown in together in a class. But the way that this particular campus did that as a community, differentiated learning, it just got me all sorts of just excited and hopeful to see that happen. And then just to hear, from that same campus that they're actually excited about the STAR test, just to, maybe a few points off of getting a great grade. So those campus visits were great to see all the work that's going on, and the work that was going on in all 4 of those campuses was just amazing to see.
Thank you, Riley. Sure, absolutely.
Just want to reiterate something Jeff said. I thank you for what you're saying about the empathy with our students and our general ed students who get to participate. Us as an adults, working in the real world, not every single person's the smartest, every single person's the fastest. But if you can have someone who can empathize and see the humanity in somebody else, you can work with that person. You go a long way as an adult on your team, and you can move the needle with other people in the community and the world. So thanks for saying that, and I'm really proud of our district too for standing out in the way we do.
Thank you, Rucker. Jeff, when I listen to you speak about special need kids, I can see the place in your heart for that. So it's very genuine, and I always enjoy listening to you about that. Which brings me to the ribbon cutting for our Delta Center. It's unique to all of Bell County, is it not? Does anyone else have anything similar to us?
They have similar programs. They may not have similar facilities.
Right, and we have, all right, no, yeah. So we've got, as I understand it, there's capacity for 50, and then we already have 40. And then we have other folks that are wanting to jump into the program. Beautiful facility. As I said during the ribbon cutting, it's just a special place for very special people. Moving on to what, because Riley and I were on the campus visits. When I was driving to the office after that, I thought to myself, when talking to these principals and watching these kids in the classroom, that what you see in the classroom is a culmination of what all of you administrative staff, what Dr. Golden does. And it's like putting everything together in that one classroom, and you see everything, it climaxes there. Everything that we do, that we do up here, and that what you guys do, it ultimately goes there, and you see it in action, and it makes it worth it, right? You see that, and it touches your heart when you see those kids respond the way they do. Did the coin toss with Representative Buckley, and he stayed there until, I don't know, Ben, what did he say, almost fourth quarter? Yeah. So Chris came up. Oh, and Chris is one of these behind-the-scenes guys. Oh, yeah. Okay, he's back there with the band. So Chris came over when Dr. Buckley and I were talking and said, hey, you need to watch the band. So he stayed, and he had some nice comments about the Bronco band, and they are excellent. And I'll get to see them this Friday perform. But yeah, they are really good. Yeah.
Weather permitting.
Yes, yes. No, but it was an excellent show. Yeah. So thank you to Dr. Buckley for staying. And, you know, I said, well, you know, I said something about public schools, and he said, well, it looks like things are going good around here. You know, and as he looks up in the stands and sees things that happen here in Belton. So he was impressed by what he saw, and I was glad that he was impressed. He needs to be, right? So with all that said, unless anyone else has any other comments, let's move on to closed session. The time is 8:38 p.m. The board will now go into closed session for 9A, student disciplinary matter, Texas Government Code Section 551.082. 9B, personnel, Texas Government Code Section 551.074. And 9C, consultation with attorney, Texas Government Code Section 551.071. that thing's off too. It's not working, is it? The time is 8:48 PM and the board will reconvene in open session. All action items, reports, and consent items for this meeting have been addressed. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned at 8:48 PM.